thank you much for being on the spot. We appreciate that. Good morning.
Well, Craig, good morning. I'm coming to you from Washington, D.C., where we just voted and passed in the House one big, beautiful bill. And I think you can kind of sum it up by saying promises made, promises kept. This is what President Trump campaigned on, and everything in that bill is supportive of his agenda and really gets us back to a point where we can get our country back on track. Very excited. This has been going on all night, and we finally just voted about half an hour ago, and we're able to pass this bill.
And this is a terribly exciting bill. I know Donald Trump has been out lobbying and talking to some people who didn't, they probably weren't 100% on board, but now it is a done deal, in the House at least. So on to the Senate it goes. And I heard Jim Jordan say, this must really be a good bill because Democrats hate it so much.
Well, they do. I mean, they hate everything about it because it's the antithesis of the policy that they've been pushing for years. It ends many different programs of the fraud, waste, and abuse where you see our government expanding into this bloated machine that really doesn't serve the people. And it quite frankly unleashes American energy. It secures the border. It does so many things to kind of get our country back into focus and to be responsible. And importantly, we're saving $1.5 trillion. When you have $37 trillion in debt, this is very, very important. Yesterday, I'm the chairman of the Republican Study Plan in his first term and the chief architect of his economic plan this term. And he came and talked to our group yesterday and really talked about the importance of this bill. So yes, you're going to see many provisions that are extended in the tax code that allow working families to put more money back into their pockets. But what he really focused on yesterday was the growth that we will see. That, just by doing these structural changes, that our economy can get onto a path where he believes that we're going to see at least 3% growth, maybe 4% growth, but that is $7,000 to $8,000 a year back into the pockets of American families. That's incredible. It's never been done before.
That is incredible, and as a matter of fact, just to make sure that I heard you correctly, Congressman Pfluger, sir, if you don't mind, say that again. That's a big deal. It's
a big deal. President Trump's economic plan, what we just passed today, that includes many tax provisions, the White House is predicting $7,000 to $8,000 a year back into the pockets of American families. Additional income, $7,000 to $8,000. The growth that they expect to see in all sectors will result in over $7,000 of additional savings into the pockets of Americans every year.
And I don't know about you, but I can use that $7,000 plus and use that in whatever way I choose to use it. That's my decision, but that's big. That's a big thing.
It's a big thing, and he made this promise in the first term, and he delivered on it, and it was close to $4,000 a year. But the difference now is that there are so many provisions and so many different things on the growth side that, I mean, we're unleashing an economy here, and I just can't understate how important this is for every aspect of American life, but especially those that are in the Permian Basin right now, doing the hard work of making sure that we have affordable, reliable energy throughout the country. I mean, this is a big deal for all of us, and you're right. I think every single family is looking at this going, okay, how does this affect my household? And that's what Donald Trump is saying, that he's going to put money back into your bank account, not to the federal government, not to bloated projects where we don't have accountability. That's what this bill does, is it reins that spending back in and says we want to put the money back into American families' pockets, nowhere else.
Now then, Democrats, of course, are saying why this is going to be money for the rich on the backs of the poor. They've been talking about this ever since I can remember paying attention to politics, but that's the same old story.
Well, it's the same old story, but what they're not telling the truth about, and we heard all the falsehoods for the last week, especially over the course of the last 24 hours. How about Donald Trump's promise to deliver on no tax on tips? That's in this bill. That's money that goes into those who are working hard, paycheck to paycheck, every single day, trying to put food on the table. We're delivering on that. And Democrats fail to mention that aspect of this bill, which is just absolutely huge. How about needed adults who could go out and get a job but choose not to work? We're going to make sure that they have a work requirement. 20 hours a week, it's not much. It's something, but we're going to get them back into the labor force. So Democrats fail to mention that they voted to keep people at home. People that could work, they voted to keep them at home. And we're saying, no, there's a better way. Let's get back to an America we can be proud of. But we're going to continue to hear these falsehoods. But I tell you what, the energy is running high. I mean, we've been there all night long, and it's incredible. Donald Trump came and spoke to us, Craig. He came to the Republican conference. He delivered a message, and he said, it is time. You've worked hard. The Speaker of the House, right after the vote, told me, he said, August, great job. The Republican Study Committee played a really important role in getting this bill passed. I wanted to pass that along because we did play a good role, and it's nice to hear some complimenting words, but I wanted to tell everybody that the reason that I do this is to stand up for American energy, to stand up for families in West Texas who are working so hard every day to secure our country.
Congressman Pfluger, fresh off the House floor and voting on this budget bill, the big, beautiful bill. So, again, part of this, too, is Social Security payments that will not be taxed. Am I correct?
Yep, that's absolutely right. Along with no tax on tips, there'll be a provision on American-made cars and the interest that you pay on those loans. I mean, it's just incredible what we're doing. I mean, we could go on. And in fact, Craig, we will send you the key points of this provision so you can get this out in a longer form. But promises made, promises kept. That's what this bill is all about.
Oh, yes. Please send that to us because it's a very exciting thing. And I believe that business owners and people in the oil patch, whatever, will get some tax breaks on equipment and stuff like that, too. Am I correct?
Well, that's right. And we're working hard, continuing to work hard on those provisions. And I'll tell you what, over the past year, I've met with many different sides of the industry, whether it's the service industry or those who are in the exploration and drilling side or the midstream side. And we've worked hard to make sure that we craft this bill in a way that incentivizes more drilling. When Donald Trump says drill, baby, drill, we want to do the right things by the tax code. And this bill is not perfect. Nobody said it was. There's one or two things that I want to continue to work on as it goes to the Senate, and I think we'll be successful. But let me tell you about one of the most incredible aspects of this bill, Craig. Remember the last 4 years when the open borders have completely devastated Texas. They have drained our bank accounts. We've spent billions of dollars in Texas to send DPS, National Guard, and even in some cases sheriff's departments down to the border to secure it, where the federal government had been needed to do that job, but didn't, and Joe Biden refused to do that. I, along with a couple of others, was able to get $12 billion, almost $12 billion in reimbursement for the state of Texas. We've been working on this for years, very excited that President Trump, who I spoke to directly about this provision, and said, you know, Mr. President, Texans have had your back, and for 4 years we were abandoned, and we need your help. We need your help to be repaid the money that we had to spend to secure the border, the money that the federal government should have been doing, and we're going to get that reimbursement as part of this one big, beautiful bill.
And the big, beautiful bill passing just a few minutes ago, Congressman August Pfluger a part of that, and walking from the House floor to wherever he is now to get on the radio with us, and we appreciate that so much. We have a question here from one of our texters. Gabe would like to know about no tax on overtime. Does this mean I will only be taxed on 40 hours of and everything else is mine to take home?
Well, that's right. Everything above that is considered overtime will not be taxed. That was a big part of Donald Trump's plan. And I do believe that's right, that after 40 hours that overtime would kick in. And what a great provision for anybody who's working hard and saying, you know what, I'll stay a little bit extra. I'll do a little bit extra. I'll do the job that is needed. And I think that's what Donald Trump is counting on. That's the growth rate that allows more money to be put back into the pockets of American families, just like Gabe, and I appreciate him asking that question.
All right, Gabe Gonzalez. Thank you, Gabe. And Congressman, so this means the way I understand the Democrats say why they're taking money away from the poor, the Medicaid, and all that kind of thing, but there's no cuts the way I understand in Medicaid other than wasteful spending. Am I right or am I wrong?
You are right. In fact, Medicaid is still going to grow at a rate of almost 25% over the next 10 years. 25%. So it's completely false when Democrats say that we're cutting the program. No, we're making the program better for those who it was intended for. And in the state of Texas, the recipients who deserve Medicaid get it. But in other states, you have working age adults who are not disabled, who are not pregnant women, who are not disabled veterans that are getting those benefits. We don't do that in Texas. We run a more responsible program. But what we are saying in those other states is that if you're a working age adult, you need to get back to work in order to receive these federal benefits, whether that be Medicaid or the provisions for SNAP as well. So there's accountability in this bill. And Democrats are going to lie about it and say, we're cutting these programs. No, these programs are still growing. We're just doing it smarter, and we're cutting the fraud, waste, and abuse out of them.
And I believe you mentioned this on the onset of our talk with you, Congressman, but you feel confident that it will pass in the Senate.
Well, look, I spoke to 45 senators yesterday about my role as a Republican Study Committee chairman and what we do, and mentioned, how hard this bill was to craft in the House. I mean, you had many different factions coming together, and nobody got everything that they wanted, but everybody got multiple wins, and that's the message to the Senate. Move with speed. Don't tinker with this bill. I mean, if you want to make some changes on the outsides, fine, but the structure and spirit and the heart and soul of this bill needs to stay intact, because this is Donald Trump's bill. This is his promise to America. This is 77 million Americans saying, we want you to get the country back on track, and this one big, beautiful bill delivers on exactly that.
And the Senate, Congressman, will take this up when?
Well, theoretically, it's going to be we're going to send it to them today, so let's urge our senators to move with speed, and I know that Senator Cruz and Cornyn will do exactly that. But, in reality, Craig, it's going to take a couple of weeks. The Senate tends to drag their feet on many different things. I don't think President Trump is going to have a lot of patience for that. I think that he is going to want to see us move with aggressive speed. We told Americans in the House of Representatives that we would deliver by Memorial Day. Craig, promises made, promises kept. I can't remember a time that I've been in the House and before I was in the House that we've moved with a sense of urgency like this. And Memorial Day is coming up on Monday. We delivered, and it's Thursday, the 22nd of May. We delivered several days in advance of Memorial Day. We need the Senate to do the same thing. You better believe that I think the President of the United States is going to be urging them to move with speed as well.
And then reconciliation would come, and then eventually, when do you see, Congressman, this bill to be law?
Well, as soon as the Senate can pass their version, it will come back to the House, assuming that they've, around the edges, hopefully very few, but made some changes. So we'll have to vote on this again. And that's why I stress the importance that the Senate needs to keep this intact, because, we knit together a very, very almost impossible act of legislation. So we can't really lose any other votes on this. I mean, we've got to have the votes that we had today still there the next time we vote on this, which means the Senate really needs to just go ahead and keep this intact exactly like it is. And then, yes, reconciliation would come. We would vote on whatever those minor changes would be, send it to the president's desk, and I guarantee you, as soon as we vote on that thing, he's going to get this thing signed into law.
And somebody else would like to know via our KWEL Middle College text line, did the bill decide to fully defund green energy?
We went very far on defunding green energy. Not as far as I wanted. It doesn't fully repeal everything. And that was a fight, and I stood there many times as chairman of the Republican Study Committee making the case, especially for just how important it is for the oil and gas industry to at least be treated fairly. And that was done. We did that. We delivered on that. And not every aspect of the Green New Deal you're going to see fully repealed, but I guarantee you this is a great moment for us to get back to a level playing field.
Well, Congressman, congratulations. That's got to be tough. You got to get some sleep sometime, I suspect, but thanks for the hard work.
Well, absolutely, and my military training came in handy, and let me just say thank you to everyone there. Again, when I come to D.C., and it's moments like this where you're up all night, and look, it wasn't just last night. I mean, the hard work has been done for 5+ months since the president was inaugurated, since we, on January 3rd, gavelled in and Mike Johnson became Speaker. But it's easy to do that, and the reason is because I know how hard people work in the Permian Basin. This is nothing compared to how hard people work every single day in Odessa, Texas. This is nothing compared to what people are doing right this second to deliver affordable and reliable energy for America. So what I'm doing is nothing, and I'm not worried about getting sleep. I'm worried about delivering on the promises we made to get this country back on track. So thank you for having me on, and what a day for America. We should all celebrate that we've made a very courageous step in the direction of getting our country back on track.
Good.